Hello everyone, welcome. I'm Robert, and today I want to discuss Nemesis Retaliation. And this is my introduction to the series and also my second Awakened Realms games ever. And I played using the standee edition that I purchased myself from their Game Found campaign with stretch goals. And to give you a quick overview, basically in this game, you're going to control up to 4 characters, and you need to go into a space facility where you need to complete certain goals. Now, in the solo version of the game, there's shared goals, but in the multiplayer game, there's potentially conflicting goals. Okay, so there's a bit of a backstabbing element in the multiplayer version, which is missing from the solo version. So you have shared goals, and maybe you need to defeat the queen or secure some kind of asset. So you need to explore the map, and as you explore the map, bad things will happen. These intruders will come out, and they'll want to eat your face, basically. So you need to try to complete your objective while the intruders are chasing you, and also the facility might be falling apart through the event deck. Things might be on fire and whatnot, and you need to complete your objective and also escape with your life. Okay, and probably not all characters will make it, but as long as at least one makes it, that's fine. And there's a combat mechanic. There's gonna be ways for you to defend yourself with weapons against intruders. All right, so now let's start with what I liked about the game. Okay, so this game is very, very thematic, and I think that's one of its biggest strengths. And it is very evidently inspired by Aliens, one of my favorite movies of all time, one of the most iconic sci-fi horror movies. So I adore that movie. I've seen it multiple times, and knowing my audience, I'm sure you all have. So yeah, there's an amazing board gamification of that in everything but name. So it really does accomplish that very well. One of the coolest things I experienced in this game is the noise mechanic. So the noise mechanic here is not only thematic, but it's also just mechanically interesting. So in this game, as you explore rooms, there's going to be a chance that you're going to leave these noise tokens, which then translate to intruders later. But you are not 100% sure when those noise markers will resolve. So they might resolve immediately, or they might resolve in a future turn. It just depends on how you draw events and how you roll dice. But I found it one of the more fascinating mechanics of the system, the noise mechanic that will dictate where intruders appear and when. Another great property of the game is the procedural aspect of how the map is generated every game. There are stacks of tiles that are assigned to certain areas of the map. So certain rooms you're only going to be able to find in certain sections of the map. But where they will appear in that part of the map will always vary every game. So the game is procedural, but it's extremely varied with where the rooms will appear, and how much exploration it might require you to find certain rooms will be critical, because certain objectives will require you to go to certain rooms, and if you're really unlucky, you might need to explore a lot of rooms before you find the room that you need. And also there's more variety thanks to the different classes and objectives that you could draw from the setup. And I think one of the biggest selling points of this game is the fact that it is an amazing story generator, like a movie generator, basically. So through the mechanics and the thematic elements, it is one of the better movie generators out there, and it's going to be pretty different every time. And I think the game also has a pretty cool presentation with the art and also pretty good component quality. And also a pretty good insert, assuming that you don't plan to add a bunch of expansions. The insert is pretty well thought out, and I think that if you want to sleeve cards of just the base set, not including the stretch goals, it should fit them. And I also don't regret getting the standee edition, by the way, in case you plan to buy the standee edition. I think it works fantastic. All right, so I want to get into a mixed element, and for me, that's how random and swingy it can be. Now, I don't normally have anything against games being very random. I played many Ameritrash games that are very random in nature. So in general, I can enjoy a game like that. But here you're basically simulating a horror movie, and things are usually gonna go pretty bad for you. Okay, so I'm just giving you a heads up. So that might potentially be a con for you, but I'm gonna leave it in the mix category. So it can be very random and very swingy. So just a heads up. Okay, so now let's get into things that I wasn't a fan of. Okay, so first thing I want to get into is the fact that the game with one character is pretty much impossible. So if you want to control just one character, I think that pretty much have to accept that you're not gonna win because you just don't have enough actions, and the game just throws a lot of bad stuff at you. And I think that when you control two characters, it's still gonna be an uphill battle. There's definitely at least a chance that you're gonna win with that, but you basically have to accept the fact that you're playing a horror movie, and usually in horror movies things don't go well for people. So if you look at it that way, maybe it won't bother you, but if you want to go in there and kill some bugs, that picture that you have in your head might not materialize, and you might just get your face eaten by aliens. Now, on top of the difficulty, I found that the decision making with how you use the action cards and where you explore and how you move around the map, I did not find it particularly interesting. I have played games that are very random in nature and games with exploration and where you move around. One example I want to give you is Shadows of Brimstone. That game is very random too, but I do enjoy that game a lot. So it's not that I'm against that in principle. The thing is that in this game you get a lot of bad things thrown at you. You might not find the action system here too interesting. So controlling two characters solo, the action cards and utilizing them to move your characters around the map and explore and get your objectives done and shoot. I did not find the gameplay loop that compelling, is what I'm saying. I did not care for what you do on a turn-to-turn basis. Everything that you do is in service of progressing the movie, if you will, but even if you do everything right, there's so much luck involved, from factors of where the noise markers will appear, when they'll be triggered, how many intruders will be added because of that noise marker being resolved. So there's so many variables of things that could possibly happen. It can feel like impossible to prepare for something. And mounted with the fact that you might not find the card play here and what you do on your turn that interesting. I didn't, unfortunately. And I also know that this is not a game where the gear is the main selling point, but I also didn't find the gear that you can possibly find in the game. I didn't find it that interesting. It can be thematic for sure. How you build your character and the gear, like I didn't care for that. And finally, I also found the learning experience pretty poor. The rulebook, as I also mentioned with Tainted Grail, the rulebook felt like double its length. It was very, very dense to go through. And even after I read it, it wasn't particularly clear in a few areas, especially when it came to how it describes the act of resolving noise markers and events. There were a couple areas that I feel like it could have explained it a bit better, particularly in those categories. I think everything else is explained well enough, but when it came to noise markers and events and resolving all of that aspect of the engine, I feel like they could have done a bit of a better job explaining it more clearly. Now, I'll mention this: there is an upside to the learning experience. This made me want to try Ludomentor because I hadn't heard about it until recently. So with this game, I went and tried the Ludomentor app for rules questions, and it did help a lot. And I think that Ludomentor could be revolutionary. This was my first time experiencing it, so if you have not tried it, give it a shot. I have heard some comments of people saying that it gives inaccurate answers, but when I asked prompts, I think it gave what it mentioned. The answers that it came up with seemed right, okay? And it even cites what part of the rulebook it got the answers from, so you can go and verify yourself. That all sounded right to me, so I just took it for its word, and I found it incredible. So it was a really good assistant. But I'm more talking about the process of learning the rulebook and just learning off of the rulebook. I found that very tedious, and and even with all the work that I put reading it, it still wasn't very clear in a few areas. And by the way, the game is a pretty big table hog, so you're gonna need a pretty big table for this. Just a heads up. All right, folks. So some final thoughts. To me, this game, it really reminded me of Final Girl in a way, from the solo perspective. With Final Girl, one way, like the way that it felt to me, it's like the game is playing you to some extent, not that you're playing the game. And I think to me this is kind of how it felt, and I bounced off of Final Girl a bit personally, and there's really cool things about it. There's things that are wonderful about it, but I'd rather play other games personally. It's amazing at creating generating a horror movie on the go, which is cool, but that's not why I play games personally. But I think this is an apt comparison, again, from the solo perspective. Now, I have to say this. I think I can picture this game being an absolute riot if you play multiplayer, okay? When I was just there sitting, moving my characters around the facility, trying to complete my objectives, I just felt like this game is designed for you to share those cool moments with someone next to you, with another player. And I think that this is where it would shine. As far as a solo experience, folks, I can't recommend it. I can't recommend it. I don't think that the gameplay with your action cards with your characters is particularly exciting. And the game is a table hog. It is such a table hog. There are games that do similar things as far as like generating a map with tiles and moving your characters around and exploring. But they boast more interesting turn-to-turn gameplay and rewarding loot systems and more rewarding combat. So those are also other driving factors in those games. But here, it didn't really have anything that propelled me to want to keep playing. But it is unfortunate because I can picture this. If I played games multiplayer, I definitely would try this with my play group, because especially with the backstabbing element, I think that when you remove the backstabbing element from this game, it really loses a lot of its luster. I just don't think it works particularly way solo, and the difficulty can be a bit too brutal. And just controlling two characters, it already is a table hog as it is. I think that if you control 3 or 4 characters, you'll have a better chance, but it's just already so much to manage between the upkeep of resolving the noise markers and the intruders and the event deck, as well as you're controlling each character individually. It's just a lot already to manage. And I don't want to control a third character, but even then, I just did not care for the what you do on your turn. So I personally can't recommend this solo, but if you want to play this multiplayer, I can recommend it. I can picture this being amazing multiplayer. But yeah, I don't have a play group that would be into this thing. I think when I play multiplayer games, it's more like normie games, more mainstream games. All of these complex shit, I just play by myself. So, so I can't recommend it solo, folks, personally, but I can recommend it multiplayer. So those are my final thoughts on the game. But I want to thank you all so much for watching. If you have any comments, questions, feedback, go ahead and put it in the comment section. And if you enjoyed this content, make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.